the start of the film, we see a Chinese man. He was escaping from London's police because he has stolen some precious things from the Bank of London. The London police were still behind the man, so he uses a tree while escaping from them. He climbs up the tree and hides there. From the tree, the Chinese man sees a scientist. He was fixing his servant for his experiment test. Actually, this machine was a car. It can travel at the speed of 50 miles per hour. The time that is told in the movie is 1890. It is a high-speed car at this time. The servant of the scientist refuses to do this experiment. He says, "I love my life. I don't want to lose it." Saying this, he leaves from there. The scientist loses hope because there is none to support him, and the Chinese man was seeing all this. Here the Chinese man thinks the police are already behind me. Why don't I help him? With this, I will be saved from the police and I will also help him. Thinking this, he goes to the scientist. The scientist also appoints him. Now the scientist starts his experiment. He gives a helmet to the Chinese man and makes him sit in the engine car. The experiment of the scientist was getting successful. The car was moving now. He asks the Chinese man to accelerate the speed, but the Chinese man couldn't control it, and due to the high speed, the car brakes from behind. The scientist hits a tower. It means he collapses with a tower badly. Here the scientist was happy because his experiment was successful, but the Chinese apologize for this work. He also cares for his life and he says, "I will not do this work." On it, the scientist stops him. The scientist was making the Chinese man understand to stop with him. We will do many experiments together. Meanwhile, the police again come there. The Chinese man has no other way to go to him. The Chinese man again accepts the job. He goes to the scientist's home. It was a good place to escape from the police. Now they were together at the scientist's house. When the Chinese man asks the name of the scientists, he tells his fake name. He says, "My name is Passport Out." It seems strange to the scientist, but he doesn't say anything. While talking to the Chinese man, the scientist tells him about his experiments and future. He says, "I want to make a plan that can fly." The Chinese man was impressed by the scientist. Now we see the Chinese man was writing a letter to his father. While writing the letter, we also come to know about the things he stole from the bank. Actually, it was a laughing Buddha statue and it was very expensive. This statue was stolen from his village. Due to it, there were problems in their village. He writes in the letter, "I will soon come to the village with the statue. So the village will become as it was before." Now the scene changes in the movie. We see the head of the Royal Science Academy, Lord Kelvin. He was interested in the statue that was stolen by the Chinese man. Here we also meet a Chinese lady, and she was the head of a gangsters group. She was a dangerous lady. Coming to London, the statue was placed in the bank with the help of Lord Kelvin. So she can sell the statue and earns money from it. Because the statue was stolen, so the lady was aggressive with Lord Kelvin. She wants the statue again, so she can again give it to Lord Kelvin and can earn money from it. She warns Lord Kelvin this time, "If it will be lost, you will not be spared. It means you will be killed." In the next scene, we see the scientist, and the Chinese man comes to the Royal Science Academy. He tells the scientists that my experiment is successful. He tells them, "I have made a vehicle that can move 50 miles per hour. Here Lord Kelvin, who is the head of the Royal Science Academy, he laughs at him, and he says, "We neither need this kind of experiment nor the public need it." Lord Kelvin makes fun of the scientist. Their argument continues. Meanwhile, Lord Kelvin and the scientist talk about the world tour. On it, the scientist says now the world tour is possible in 80 days. While laughing, Lord Kelvin says impossible. On it, they both bet that the scientist will come here again after the world tour in 80 days. If he will not return, he can't do any invention further in his life. While getting agree with Lord Kelvin, the scientist also presents his condition. He says, "If you will lose this bet, then you have to leave this academy. On winning, I will be the next minister here." Now we see the scientist at his house. He was worried that how will he do this. On it, the Chinese man encourages him. The Chinese man says to him, "We can make it possible." Here the Chinese man was seeing his benefit. He wants to go to his village through the scientist. He agrees on it, and then we see they start their journey. Meanwhile, a police officer comes here. He says, "Your motor car is not able to move on the roads." Here the truth about the police officer is something else. Actually, he is a corrupt police officer, and he comes here on the saying of Lord Kelvin. Because there is a fear in Lord Kelvin's heart. Maybe he will win the bet. That's why he is bringing troubles in the scientist's way. In the next scene of the movie, we see the scientist and the Chinese together. They were about to start their journey to Germany. Here they come to know that they will be late for this. The Chinese man sees many Chinese with him. He suspects that maybe those men are with him. They want to take the statue from him. That's why he goes from there into an art gallery with the scientist. It was near them. Here the scientist meets with a beautiful and nice painter. He likes just one painting of the painter. He likes the painting just because a man was flying in it with the wings. The scientist also wants this to make a plane in which the human can fly. During this, many Chinese men whom we saw in front of the art gallery, they reached there while searching for the Chinese man. Here the Chinese man was lucky, because he knows the martial arts. He escapes from all of them from there. The owner of the art gallery throws out the painter while saying, "Your paintings are useless." On it, her heart breaks. She requests the scientist, "Can you take me with you to Germany?" Here they think to travel through the hot air balloon toward Germany. Unfortunately, here again, the men of gangsters come there. They were catching Passport Out. Passport Out again succeeds here and continues his journey with the scientist. Here Passport Out again lies when the scientist asks. He says, "These are the men of my village and we met after years. That's why they don't want me to go from here." The scientist accepts it, but the girl recognizes his lie. After it, we see them on a train. The scientist feels that the speed of the train is slow. We will reach there late. That's why while moving to the driver of the train he says to increase the speed. The painter says to Passport Out that I know neither your name is Passport Out nor those people belong to your village. She says to tell her the whole story. Otherwise, I will tell the scientist. On it, Passport Out takes out his statue. And he also tells everything about the gangster. Here the lady again warns the man and says, "Now I know your truth. I can also tell this to the scientist. But there is a condition, then I will not tell all this to him." The Chinese man agrees with her condition. It was that she wants to continue the journey with him. He will not leave her in Germany, because now the girl likes the scientist. After it, Passport Out talks to the scientist. The scientist accepts whatever he says. Here we see they were on the journey to Turkey. Meanwhile, the police officer again comes there. As he was about to put handcuffs in Passport Out's hands, he throws him down from the window. Like this, he falls out of the train. Reaching Turkey, the king invites them to his palace. The scientist doesn't want to go there, but the others take him there. Going there, he sees the music was playing. There was a beautiful statue. Here the king was singing. The king invites them to a feast. During this feast, the king likes the painter. When the king was admiring the painter, the scientist also speaks that she looks beautiful when she was painting. Here the girl feels the scientist also likes her. Seeing her, he smiles. When they return from there, the king stops the painter and says, "Now, I will marry her." The scientist comes in angry, but it doesn't matter to the king. He throws him out while ordering his soldiers. When they have no way, suddenly, an idea comes to their mind. They warn them to pick up and throw the favorite statue of the king. On it, the king returns the girl. With it, the scientist says to him, "You and your soldiers should go from here." When the king and his soldiers leave, he sees that he had to break the hand of that statue. They immediately escape from there. From the hand, they lock the door of the palace. Seeing his statue, the king shouts angrily. As Lord Kelvin comes to know that they reached India, he thinks of an idea. He thinks, why don't he let them be caught by the British army present in India? When they will be locked in jail some days, his journey will be completed late. It happens the same here. The people of the British army start searching for them. Here the people of the gangster also come. The gangster who wants the statue. Here Passport Out kills the people of gangster. And escaping from the British army, they reach China. In China, the people were calling Passport Out with another name. They were happy on his arrival in the village. While seeing the pictures of Passport Out, the scientist feels strange. As he asks Passport Out, being embarrassed, tells him everything. Here the scientist becomes sad. When he comes to know that the painter also knows this, he feels depressed. Now the scientist decides to leave them here and move from here. As he goes out, the people of the gangster holds him. They want the statue back. In the next scene, we see they are locked in a wooden rack. A man of gangster asks them about statue. None replies about it. Then they start beating the scientist. On it, Passport Out says, "If you want to fight, then fight with me." Those soldiers release Passport Out on this. But here Passport Out couldn't succeed, because the soldiers were large in number and he was alone. Meanwhile, the 10 tigers come there. 10 tigers were the specialists in martial arts and the soldiers of the village. There are only 9 tigers here. We come to know Passport Out is also a tiger. It means the expert in martial arts. After it, we see the scientist says goodbye to painter and Passport Out and leaves from there. He reaches America. In America, he faces a fraud lady. She runs while taking his all money. In this situation, it is difficult for him to travel even to survive. Here we see Passport Out and the painter search the scientist and apologizes to him. Here the scientist apologizes to him. From here they again continue their journey. Now the scene shifts to Lord Kelvin and the gangster. They were planning that we couldn't get the statue. There is a precious diamond under that village. We can get them. On it, Lord Kelvin says yes, for sure, but before this, you have to do a task for me. It was to stop the journey of the scientist. He says if the scientist will win, I will lose my powers and I will not be able to do anything. In the next scene, we see them in a desert. They reach a railway track with the help of two men. Through the train, they reach New York. It was their 72nd day. It means 72 days have been passed. They were about to continue their journey from New York to England. A police officer comes and arrests them. He hands them over to the gangster who wants the statue for the sake of money. Now she wants to kill them. Here, Passepartout asks them to run from there. I will see them, because it is necessary for you to complete this journey. Otherwise, you will not be able to do any invention on it. The scientist says now nothing is more important than you near me. They finished the lady and her companions together. Now, at last, they were in a ship. It was moving towards London. But the scientist calculates, and he comes to know this ship will reach London timely. Unfortunately, the fuel of the ship was also finished from which the ship was sailing. Here the scientist thinks of a fabulous idea. He thinks, why don't I make a plane from this ship? He takes this ship while saying to its captain, I will give you the ship back. The captain was his fan and he gives the ship while thinking that there will be our victory after his victory. While using the machinery and the wood of the ship, the scientist makes a plane. The plane of the scientist was ready. It can take them anywhere for travel. After a few minutes of travel in the sky, they were in London, but the strings of the planes were breaking there. They suddenly do the crash landing in London. In London, they face Lord Kelvin. He tells him that you lose the bet. You will be arrested, but meanwhile, a police officer comes there. The police officer who is working for Lord Kelvin. He tells the truth of Lord Kelvin to everyone there. Lord Kelvin says, I tried to stop his way. What you all can do. Meanwhile, the Queen also comes there from behind. She becomes shocked after hearing all this. She makes Lord Kelvin's arrest. The Queen says to him, I am proud of you. You are the Minister of the Royal Science Academy from now. With it, she also tells him today is the 79th day. You have one more day. Hearing it, Passepartout says, whenever we passed a country, I made your watch 1 hour forward. As we completed 24 countries, your watch was 24 hours forward. Like this. The scientist Phileas wins the bet. Here the movie ends. Thank you for watching.